to episode 2 of the second season of this Bench Warmers podcast. As we discussed on the first episode, almost a month ago, maybe 3 weeks ago now, we're going to go on to new territory this year in a bit of a new format. We're going to talk about stuff we kind of know about rather than stretching further afield. We're going to stick to our football club, Pontefract Collieries. This episode, we'll get onto a number of topics. The upturn in form that we've seen since that last podcast that was recorded. We'll talk about the FA Trophy and the importance of it to certain clubs, our own Pontefract Collieries, and how important it is to us. We'll talk about goalkeepers and some visiting goalkeepers and some keepers we've seen on our travels, shall we say. We'll look at the upcoming fixtures that we've got ahead of us, as well as a bit of an overview of the weekend ahead, and we'll get our usual predictions in. Plus, there might even be some other little bits that we'll touch on as we go through on the podcast. So first of all, chaps, are we well?
Yes, good, thank you.
Good evening, Charlie. Don't sound too excited. Anything happened since the last podcast, non-football related, that anyone wants to raise? Anything?
I've had some more kitchen issues, but I don't think that's this podcast for this, really.
Well, are we talking gas? Are we talking water? Are we talking electric?
It's water. My new tap from Wren. It doesn't fit. So
we think Wren Kitchens is a good idea to sponsor the football club?
I don't think it's going to happen. Not if I'm pushing them anyway, I know that.
Well, I'll put that down on my list of people not to contact. Nick, Lennon, anything to report? Any sports we've taken up recently? any running that's been taking place?
Is this your way of bringing up me and my dad have started playing tennis?
Yeah, it turns out you're Rafa Nadal as well.
Take no credit for that.
Playing drop shots against somebody who's got scoliosis. Playing drop shots against him.
Yeah, and I'm an overweight Tim Edmund.
As a friend of mine once said, once you step on that car, I'm not a nice guy. But yeah, back to football. Well, in fact, now I'm going to come throw back to Nick. I believe you're training for another marathon.
I am. No tennis for me, unfortunately. Just lots of running in all my spare time.
And how far are you away from this marathon? And
I think I'm
training?
About 5 weeks away, and I'm looking forward to the taper very much. All my free time seems to be running. I'm sure I've complained about this before on previous podcasts.
Bit of deja vu.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's it. I'm done.
You've done nothing else.
Until we do?
You've been running I believe you've had a holiday.
Yeah, we talked about my holiday last time.
No, but did you go, or was that before?
No, you've had the holiday. Yeah, it's you.
I'm sure we'll come to that. Definitely. So yeah, we touched on it briefly. We'll start on the upturn in form and the results since the last time we were on this podcast. First and foremost was the trip to Cleethorpes Town. It was the start of our upturn in form. A win at Cleethorpes, which has become a regular occurrence in recent years. And we're hoping that someone's going to remind me what the score was.
1-0.
Thank you. And who scored the goal, Gary?
I've absolutely no idea.
It was a certain Adam Priestley, who, I think pre-podcast episode 1, we've been talking about referees and if we're talking about our upturn in form, their lack of form at the start of the year. But I think arguably since that podcast, I don't know whether officials have tuned into this particular podcast and they've thought, you know what?
Yeah, I think that's
really
happened.
Need to think long and hard about our performance.
Well, you say that, but we've had some big officials coming down to Colls, haven't we?
We've had some big names.
He was a big official as well, which size of him.
Saturday we had Jeff Winter, who is, I believe, a club ambassador for Stockton. So he was following his beloved side. Yeah. And then for the Ossett game on the Bank Holiday Monday, we had some refereeing royalty, you could say, with the head of UK refereeing, Howard Webb, in attendance, with John Moss, who I'm sure Gareth is a big fan of.
Yeah, Nick's not such a big fan of. There were an incident at Colton, I believe.
No, it wasn't me. It was the other one who joined us for the Ossett game where John Moss criticised his refereeing, and at which point my mate offered him the whistle and said, well, if you're so good, here you go, here's the whistle. And John Moss took over for a little bit.
Did he? All right, well, at least...
Much better.
Well, I don't think we may have done anything wrong. I think John Moss, despite all this respect for referees that the bang on about, didn't have any respect for the referees.
I do have a little bit of respect for the fact, though, that he slagged him off. Your mate went, well, you can do it then.
Yeah,
and he went, go on then. And so it's not like he said, oh, no, I'm not doing it. At least he did.
I think he'd been embarrassed into it more than anything. But he went with it, didn't he? He went with it.
And in fairness, back to the tale, his son Joe Moss, who was in the middle for the Ossett game, I think he's probably been the best referee that we've had all season. So credit where it's due, he's picked up some of his dad's skill, I think is the term that you'd use for some good refereeing. But no, since the last podcast, we've arguably had some of the better officials that we've seen over the last year or so, over the last two campaigns. Obviously, the decision for the goal at Cleethorpes, the guests at Cleethorpes, the hosts at Cleethorpes, may argue that it weren't a great performance, but the actual goal that was given was good officiating. They followed the letter of the law, and Adams took advantage of that. And we've just got Mark here dancing about in Windsor as usual. Now that we're in our new space in the new building at the football club, he's I'm sure he'll love.
What's this building's primary use going to be, Charlie?
It's got a mix of uses, but for match day purposes alone, it's an extra hospitality area. It's going to be the home for our away hospitality in particular. But on match days, there's a few screens in here, so we've got we'll have games on a weekend, whether it's final score, whether it's a Saturday game where we had the FA Cup on. It's a little place for fans to come. There's windows where you can see the warm-ups during the pre-game and half-time. So there's a bit of everything. But you've made me digress here, Gareth. So I'm going to go back to my previous
Sorry.
About the officiating. The ref got the decision right at Cleethorpes, as per the footage as well, that's proved that that's correct. And if anyone has seen the highlights, you would have heard loud and clear, second phase, from a certain man in the dugout. But he was told right, second phase, he was onside and the goal was given.
The first of the goalkeepers that's going to get mentioned tonight, obviously, is Cleethorpes goalkeeper Lee, I believe he's called. Lee with a G.
Lee with a G and
Lee
H.
with a G and H. Didn't really take it right well. And he'd started off by wanting to give a little banter to us, as we find with opposition keepers from time to time.
It's a sign.
Yeah, and he seemed to lose interest in that friendly banter after the goal.
Which is understandable when you've just been given the referee and the linesman both barrels, and you've been informed that you have actually got the decision wrong by the opposing spectators. You can see why somebody would be aggrieved. But no, I think even in the second half, he wasn't best pleased. He himself on the banter front, shall we say?
No,
the goalkeeper wasn't a lasting memory for me. There were a couple of memories from Cleethorpes.
You're going to talk about a drum?
I'm going to talk about that bloody drum, yeah. That drum absolutely did my head in for 90 minutes of incessant drumming with no beat whatsoever. It was just random
tunes to random words and everything. But what I will say is, as much as I agree with you on the drum front, I'm not a big fan of musical instruments at the football. It's good to see young supporters getting behind the team. Now, those ones in particular may have got themselves into a discussion or two with the following fans, but it's not to take anything away from them, but more so back it in with drum, lads.
Yeah.
Have a sing song, clap your hands, bang on a board, get rid of your drum.
Yeah.
I think the other thing for me from that game was we'd not had the greatest starts to the season. I think we felt a little bit aggrieved after the Hebburn game. Felt like we deserved more from that, and we'd come off a bad string of results. And then we've gone there, we've got a decision that's gone in our favour that's led to a win. You could feel the sense of relief not just amongst the supporters, but you could visibly see it amongst the players as well. And when they're clapping us at the end, we're clapping them. When Burnsy steps forward, and the rest of the players and our coaching staff come with him and high five our fans. It's the first time I've known that, and I thought it felt like a defining moment for the kick-on for the rest of the season that we've had, or this initial part of the season. Felt good, that. I was really pleased with that. And
certainly a good starting point for that weekend in particular. Obviously, it was a double header, so to speak, with obviously the Goalkeepers game away on Saturday and the home bank holiday derby day against Oxford. We'll get right onto that one in particular. Gareth, if you want to fire away with what your prediction was. Now, some may have said it was a bit
tongue-in-cheek.
Promiscuous?
Yeah, tongue-in-cheek. And you know, I was only one goal off. I predicted 5-0 and it was 4. So I'm very close, but I have to give a huge thank you, and I can't take all credit for being so close to that, because Osset's goalkeeper, Joe Green, deserves a huge compliment for getting me so close to that prediction. I mean, he's thrown a couple in for us at least, I think, hasn't he?
There's certainly an argument that one of them was an absolute howler. I'm trying to think back at them all now. The first goal.
Well, there's the one where, I mean, Lennon's had, as probably quite a few know that are listening, that he's had major spinal surgery in March, and Lennon had got down better to that goal, that was the one that he let in, the first one, I think.
Was that the first one?
Yeah, that was the one where you started singing "It's All Your Fault." Clearly got into his head, and then less than 60 seconds later, Boyle's shot that's struggled to reach the goal line.
Did it actually touch the net?
No.
I mean, if there were a slow motion replay to that goal, I don't think any.
I think the shot was it. I think the shot was in slow motion, and I think that's the problem that the keeper had. It was just in reality that easy, and he switched off.
If we're going to talk about a derby game against Oxford, previously over the years, there've been close encounters. There've been, some have. We've been pretty good against Oxford.
We don't lose many, do we?
We give our team the credit where it's due. But usually there's a bit of nip and tuck. It's a bit of a close game. You get a couple of argy-bargy tackles in there. They have absolutely nothing.
Well, the strangest thing for me was how many Oxford players made themselves unavailable for that fixture. I don't know what's going on there, the post-match with their manager, the Grant Black, their manager. The post-match with their manager seemed utterly dejected. I don't know what's going on there, and I'm not right bothered what's going on there, but it just seemed strange that the players didn't want to play, declared themselves unavailable. It's just odd, West Yorkshire derby. I'd be gutted if Bonnie players had done that. Said, I'm not available for this one.
It's certainly strange to then also for the manager to be on the post-match. He's clearly deferring the blame from himself, but then also outing his players to say, they've come and told me that they're unavailable. Whether they have or they haven't, if I'm a particular player that has informed them that I'm probably not going to be right, I'm going to be a bit miffed that he's come out and said that they've told me that they're not going to be available. It doesn't paint a great picture. I think they won last Saturday, where they were away at Newton Aycliffe. We've just got Lloyd and Lee.
He's getting slagged. I tell you something, Lloyd's getting slagged off now in this for that.
He claims he's never listened, but if he is listening...
You best not listen to this one then. Somebody best message him.
He can join in the goalkeeper and Banter
yeah.
now. But no, while he has just gone past the window, I think it's only fair we talk about Lloyd on the back of our goalkeeper Banter topic. That Lloyd's upturning form since his return to the side. I think the Belper game that we're going to come on to next, he gets the man of the match. Arguably his best performance in a Ponty shirt since he first came to the club, maybe. I can't comment too much because I know Nick's going to get onto this as well. But you guys,
the thing I like about Lloyd is he's come in and he's had a bad injury for one. That needs to be mentioned. So he started off really well. He's had a bad injury, which a lot of people won't even have come back from. He's had a drop in form. I think that's safe to say, and I think he'd be the first one to say it. He's had a few where you're going to look at, and if it was against us, we'd be making jokes about some of the goals that he's conceded. But like a lot of players at this level, when things aren't going...
That was a very echoey ball.
Yeah, I dread to think what it's going to sound like. But at this level, when things aren't going well for people and they're not in team, a lot of the time they'll just go. And Lloyd's not been like that. I know he's gone out on loan, but he's always been seen at Ponty when other teams haven't had a game that he's been on loan at. And he's always stuck with it. Even this season, at start of season, when Harry came in, he was still coming, he was still involved, he was still wanting to be here. And he's got his chance again. And he's got his chance, and currently he's took it. And like you say, his last 4 or 5 games, he's been probably one of our better players. Everything's been spot on with him.
You say how good he was at Belper, and he was absolutely fantastic, but it could have been a completely different game. You could argue that he shouldn't have still been on that pitch.
What, when that Belper striker kicked his leg?
He kicked his leg out. From not being in the ground, my only view of the incident at first look was an image that was posted on social media that, to me, looks as though their player stuck a left leg out off the line of his run.
Felt it was going to be very deceiving.
And he's tried to claim a penalty, but if you think it's a penalty, then
we'll put it like this: we were 100 yards away, and normally where if we think we've got a slightest chance, we're incensed, arms flapping round all over. We both just went.
I just started laughing when I saw it.
Nick started typing red card 22 minutes or whatever on his own count.
But yeah, Lloyd's upturn in form has been brilliant. And as we're talking about Belper, we can continue a little bit more. So after obviously the 2 big victories the week prior, we face a side that I think we're top of the league at the time of kick-off between the fixture. Either that or they were very close to the second. A side that are favourites to, if not win the league, to certainly go up. And we came away with a really good 3-1 away victory. A difficult place to play. Obviously, Lloyd's had a good game in particular, but there's a number of other good performances. 3 goals away from home is always a good sign. Strikers scoring goals. What was your particular take on that game?
Well, even after the 2 wins where we were going there, I'll be honest, it didn't feel good. Belper were in good form. We've got 2 of us first choice back 4 suspended in Greenough and Burns. We're bringing dual reg players back in. We're looking at team warm-up. We've got Joe sat on bench icing his ankle before games even started.
He didn't look like he had long in him.
Manny didn't look like he had long in him. It was a red hot day. You're looking at side and thinking, it's going to be a long old afternoon, is this one? But the way that those lads came together, it was fantastic. It was absolutely brilliant. You've mentioned Paul Lloyd. He's kept us in it. He's effectively won us that game. But yeah, and they're a good side as well. That Kevin Bastos who scored.
Yeah, is that winger?
Yeah, every time he got that ball, it looked like something was going.
Yeah, you could tell he had a bit about him. But strangely kept on just falling over with nobody near him, injured.
With no physio required?
No physio was required, apparently, according to Stu Hardcastle. First shout out, Stu. Yeah, you could just see he was quality. He was a really good player, and you could tell that. And I think out of teams that we've come up against, they were the ones that wanted to play out most from back as well. Yeah. Everything were coming straight out from back, and they were trying to play. Only problem is they weren't very good at it at times, were they? And we were,
which you often find at this level.
Yeah, and obviously once it's gone wrong a couple of times, then us guys at back at net and girls, obviously, and dogs on occasion, we decided to give them some vocal encouragement every time they tried to pass it out from back, and that seemed to make it a little bit worse for them. There were a couple of them that didn't. By end of first half, they didn't look like they wanted that ball playing it out from back to me. But no, they're a good side, and they're there or thereabouts end of season. I'd have thought.
I think the other thing to say about Belper as well, and it's not match related, not result related, but what a fantastic setup them guys have got. I know they've come down from division above, but they're everything that teams in our division should be aspiring to be.
Yeah, it's set up right, isn't it?
It's fantastic. Yeah. What a place to go.
Well, again, I can't comment too much on this. I'll set myself up for this. I missed this particular game through a holiday. I was away this particular weekend. I'll get the cat out of the bag, the elephant in the room. I'll approach it. Nick's putting his other. But I missed this one in particular.
Which should open you up for some abuse, shouldn't it? Really?
So, I'm going to help cover you.
I think Nick saved the bacon.
So Charlie, with you not being there, obviously, and you, as I'm sure our fan will know that's listening out there, you're our media guru. Who stepped in for you to fill the void?
Oh, we had a certain Nicholas Wayne.
Oh, good. Is there? I mean, I do know bits of it, and I do know he had a fantastic performance as a whole. But is there anything that you feel Nick didn't do quite right at all?
I'm not going to say not quite right.
That
I'm
is.
not saying not quite right, but obviously I'm away. I'm looking at my phone.
Yeah.
Up to date.
I get that, yeah.
Up to date. I believe I may have even had to post it.
I believe you had to make an emergency. I believe you may even made an emergency phone call as well.
The team news from up a peak in Cumbria, and then I'm looking at the tweets. We're about 4 minutes past 3.
Oh.
There's been no mention of kickoff or any action.
It's funny because I saw Nick typing.
Well, Nick was typing.
Did you see Nick typing, Lennon?
That's how they type.
We all saw him typing.
Nick posted from his own account. what he had posted was right on the note, and I was updated. But anyway, he logged back into the right account. He posted his tweets, and the rest of his coverage was brilliant. So.
Well, you say rest of it. There was one other incident.
Have you got his name written down?
His names.
So, we've got Owen Elliott Smith.
This is a direct tweet, by the way.
Brett Elliott Owen Smith.
And what made it even better was that Bell called him Jack Steers.
Yeah, that was the occasion.
A case of misidentification.
Yeah, so I called him the wrong name, and then I corrected myself by calling him the wrong name.
At full time, I did make sure.
Sorry.
While we're on the topic, the lad that came in at right back when we lost Jack Greenough to suspension, he's not lost his place since because he's been that good. A young lad that joined us during pre-season after a trial period, I think him and along with the rest of the back four that's been pretty settled since the inclusion of Elliott and obviously Lloyd behind them, it's something that I feel like only deserves to be talked about just because of how settled they look. It helps Lloyd with having a settled back four in front of them. It helps them that Lloyd's playing the way that he has been. You've got Elliott that's looked like he's been playing right back forever, even though he's never actually played right back until this season. You've got Spratty that's his vice captain, that's as solid as you could imagine him to be. And Stacey and Burnsy have built a partnership there that if you're going to put a ball up in there, you better expect that you're going to have at least one bloke that's going to be towering over you and winning a header. You touched on Burnsy in the way that he's kind of taken on this general-like figure at the back. He's one of those players that seems to just, when fans say, he just gets it. He's one of those types of players, and I think Burnsy's introduction to the squad has been one that when you lose someone like Spencer Clark, he's kind of just gone and slotted straight into that role, which is no low point on Spencer. It's more of how well Burnsy's dropped into that side, and I think...
Yeah, I would say especially the last four or so games, you've not noticed Spencer not being there. And like you say, that's no slur on Spencer. He's a fantastic centre half. We're all going to agree that. But how Burnsy's been, he's been first class, especially with Stacey and like I said, other lads back there. You can't knock any of them.
Seem to have a good relationship going on, don't they? Good thing, good balance.
And they want to battle for each other. That's a lot of it.
The defenders that like to defend.
Yeah.
Not the kind that you see that just want to play out from the back and are happy to intercept. These lads aren't scared of putting a...
They want to get mucky, don't they? Defenders that want to get mucky.
Now, we have been renowned for his yellow cards and his red cards. Now, there's not been too much this year in terms of games where you'd say we've lost was right.
I think we had
giving away too many.
Did we have 2 games on trot where we didn't get a
Two games
booking?
on trot without a single booking, which shows how well.
You say that, but we did get a game where 2 people got sent off.
Yeah, but we know.
But that's there's a bit of a.
We'll not talk about the lack of rescinding of those particular
dismissals.
But yeah, obviously we've gone on to Belper with 3 games winning on the bounce in the league. We go to the FA Trophy. We travel to Stockton.
Yeah. How hot was it, by the way?
Very hot day in Stockton. It's not normally that hot up north, and we know that for we've got plenty of evidence to back that up. But I think it's a particular day that FA Trophy. It's one of them where it's a cup competition, but you struggle to get up for it as much as some of the other competitions.
I think I said this in the car with you going up. Couldn't care less.
It's not really what we want.
Where if you win, great, you're into the next round. You're
I mean,
getting a bit of prize.
At our level, you wouldn't think a team from our level is going to win it.
No.
From what I understand, the prize money in the FA Trophy is nothing compared to the FA Cup.
No.
And some of the treks that you have to do. I mean, you look last year, we ended up, because of the passing of the Queen, we ended up going to North Shields on a Tuesday night. It's not something you need. And then if we'd have got past them, I think we'd have been away at Kendal in next round. And it's like, let's just get out of that. It's if there's not the money in there for the club, then let's get out of it. Let's concentrate on the league because that's your bread and butter. And I said to you, if I had a choice, as I say, going up, I'd rather lose today as it was going up to Stockton and win the Saturday after, because 3 points is more important than FA Trophy to me.
Yeah, I think we discussed that if there's a performance there that shows enough, where on the back of 3 wins that there's something there that you can build on the week after.
Yeah, you don't lose by 8, and it's not done.
If you put enough a performance like we did, we lost 3-1, but you'd argue that 2 goals that they scored were while we were throwing everything out to try and get an equaliser, which to the lads' defence, we're saying how it didn't matter to us so much. You could see that they were still trying to get back into the game, which again is testament to the lads.
It's a different game if when Adam Moore goes round keeper and after 10 minutes or however early it was on, and he goes round. Fantastic run, fantastic move, and I think he's well worth a mention just for the amount of effort he's put in all our games. And he deserved a goal there. I know he's got a few goals, but he deserved a goal there for the effort he put in all game. And unfortunately, he's hit that one wide with the goal gaping.
I think it's the first time I've seen a bobble on a 4G pitch, and you're gonna look at me and say, "No, you're not letting him off for that." But there was a little bit of a sit up on the ball. But for Adam's sake, we'll bypass this and go on to the rest of the game. I think the red card that they picked up, was as clear as you'll get any day of the season. The home fans didn't react. They weren't in arms about the fact that they've had a player sent off.
Aren't they always angry, though?
Always angry.
Always angry.
The guy that got sent off was very angry.
I don't think they know what they want to be. It's because they're not quite Geordies, they're not quite Yorkshire folk, and they're just angry. They're not Mackems, what are they? And you know what I mean?
There we go.
And if anybody wonders that's listening in Stockton what I look like, I'm a small, bald, ginger-haired man. But the next guy.
What I am going to say is that may be some of the spectators that we've encountered. But we played Stockton in the league this weekend just gone. Quite a number of their chaps in their committee were really good blokes. We had Dad Loves Food attend our game. He's got quite a hefty food review account on social media, and his presence he enjoyed pie and peas. Now, I think it was his brother that had pie and peas. I don't know if you've seen the video. He's trying to sample the vinegar. The vinegar was sampling the pie as he takes off the lid.
Oh, it would have been too wet for me, that.
There was no lid inside retaining any of the vinegar. And it seeped out all over the pie. But yeah, as far as committee goes, we bumped into some good folk, but the guys at Stockton were a good bunch. And they particularly enjoyed our new building. So they were the first to take its virginity. But yeah, obviously FA Trophy, we're not so bothered about being knocked out of it. Obviously, it'd have been great if we'd have won and maybe got a bit of prize money in, but
No, it's too much. It's 2 games at Wembley for Nick. It'd have been no good. it'd have been shattered.
it's not a priority for us. We now obviously.
I think it's worth mentioning as well, while we're up there, about some of the Stockton players as well. I think that their captain, their number 5, Adam Nicholson, I thought he was absolutely fantastic in that game. I think he almost single-handedly won the game for him. There was one bit where we were pressing in the last 10 minutes. He's headed the ball out as we've swung it in. He's over near the left back. He heads it out. It comes to whoever's on our right-hand side, ready to swing the ball back in. They swing the ball back in to their right-back position. I'm thinking, who's headed that out?
Same bloke.
Same bloke. He was just covering everything. He headed absolutely everything.
Yeah, but have you seen what it's done to his airline?
Well, anyway, we'll skip on to obviously the league game against Stockton last Saturday. After 3 wins on the bounce in the league,
You did miss as well how chirpy their keeper was.
I was going to say.
And how happy he was.
well, we can firmly get on to that.
He seemed very pleased about
Yeah,
it.
we were looking forward to coming back down here, wasn't it?
Well, I think he's arsenicked a bit. Because if you remember for the penalty, where I think it's safe to say Frankie might have gone down a tad easily. After the penalty, I believe it was Dunny, and he went up and he started screaming in Dunny's face. And it wasn't even Dunny that had gone down.
Now I have some information.
Oh, spill it.
I've got some words from the horse's mouth. The goalkeeper was told to shut up, you fat.
Fuck.
No.
Can I keep guessing swear words?
It's got some U's and some N's and some T's, and it's began with a C. So,
and I think when after obviously he'd done that to Dunny, which we knew,
we felt it was a bit out of
and as he's coming back to us, where reminding him that he's coming to our place the week after, he did seem to turn then, where he's like trying to discuss it as just been banter. But I think by that time the damage is done.
Yeah, we're right in Dunny's face.
Yeah.
Giving him in.
And there's times that's going to get our back up, especially when it's somebody like Dunny who's having the time he is at currently. So we're certainly going to be 100% behind Dunny, and any chance to put what we think the score's right, we're going to take it.
And speaking of putting the scores right, we certainly did. We've got a good record against Stockton at home. I think we've won every game we've played against them at home. If not, at least the last 2. And it's a side that do not like coming to Ponty. You talked about their captain winning a lot of headers. He certainly wasn't as good with his feet on Saturday.
So wasn't it you that got at him?
I may or may not have questioned, or may have told him that he might have been better suited sticking to heading the ball.
And then you did also suggest that he needed to shave it off.
Well, I think there was a number of people making a similar suggestion.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a game where even from the first 10 minutes it looked like we were going to win the game. We scored 2 goals. In all honesty, at 1-0 up at half time, it could have been 3, could have been 4. We had plenty of chances.
Has Lloyd made a save, really? A big save in that game?
The only 2 that I managed to put together for the highlight package were free kicks that were at him. He's obviously done well to hold them and stop any parries that might have dropped to their players. There's nothing much of that.
We don't talk about parries here, mate.
Well, it's probably just because that normally they play on a 4G pitch at home, so when they actually play on a normal pitch, then they're not as good.
They're used to a sterile school environment.
And, so you mentioned that 5 not being as good with his feet as he was with his head, but I think you're letting that number 6 off his centre-back partner who just... I think, did he fall over ball for first goal, or he just failed to do anything?
No, it was one in 5, 6 in keeper just all stood in the triangle, but neither of them went for the ball.
Slowest goal anybody's ever scored.
In all honesty, we must be the kings of slowest goals. We've got Jack Boyles that has cruised through the goalkeeper.
That is the slowest.
And then you've got Adam who's tackled the ball into the net, really. He's thrown himself at it, he's got a foot on there. He's stopped their lad from clearing it, and in the act of doing so, he's managed to turn the ball home. But surely their defender's got to slide and make attempt to clear the ball.
They didn't
just watched it.
They didn't even need to. They didn't need to slide. All they did was walk
slowly towards
It was very strange indeed.
And before we move on, do you remember the situation when Adam Hard dared to have a drink of water from the keeper's bottle, and it turned into a major incident where there's about 4 or 5 of their players all surrounding Adam? Yeah.
Telling him to put the bottle back exactly where he picked it up.
Because it were about a foot different.
It wasn't even a foot, it was like 6 inches.
The only thing I can think that could have come from that is that, I don't know if you remember last year, there was a particular game in the Northern Premier League where a guy's
urinated in a bottle
from over the barrier, peed in it and returned it from the goalkeeper to take a drink. That's the only thing I can think of. But even still,
it were a long stretch though for us still, wasn't it?
Keeper can still walk and grab his bottle and put it back with his neck. It's not like Adams launched it into crowd for us to do what we like.
Pissing it.
It was a strange encounter, but obviously 4 wins from 4 in the league. We now look at our upcoming games.
I think there's one more thing I'd like to add to that Stockton game as well. Is when we ended up with a midfield full of fullbacks.
Indeed. And we didn't, by technicality, we didn't have any playing in their fullback position.
I think we had 8 classified defenders on pitch at one point.
But not playing in defence.
We had obviously Jack that had moved into a midfield berth with Elliott's form at right back. The game started with Callum Nicol in midfield, but got injured and was replaced by Banter, who was previously being a left back. You've got Connor Smythe, who was
a left back.
Being a left back.
By spine by bench warmers.
In this podcast. So you've got those 2 in there, Jack in midfield as well. So we've got 7 defenders by technicality on the pitch at one point. You wouldn't be able to tell.
It's not what you'd expect from a Rousey team, that is it, 7 defenders on pitch.
But in fairness, the lads that have played in midfield, I think every game I've watched Ben Turner play in that kind of midfield this year, I think he's played pretty well in there. Connor Smythe looks like he's hitting straps, as the saying goes, in midfield now. It's a side that looks pretty.
I know with Connor, sorry to interrupt, I know when you mentioned Connor when he was coming back, obviously we were all very excited and we're all I've been quoted as saying best left back in NPL and stuff like that. And I still believe he is. And when I found out we were going to be playing in midfield, I was a little bit sceptical, if I'm honest. But I've been proven wrong on that because I think he's been fantastic in the last 3 or 4 games.
He was always great on the ball during his first spell at the club. And at that point, we were playing with pretty high wing backs. And he's obviously very talented on the ball. And he is able to play in that position pretty easily. And like you say, he's shown over the last few weeks.
You best share this on Twitter with all praise he's been getting on it.
I'm sure he will. We go on to our upcoming games to see if we can move our winning run to 5 as we travel to a familiar foe, to Concert. Nick thought he got out of this one with it being rearranged for Tuesday night.
If you just talk, Nick, while I check weather forecast, what's happening?
As the fixture was quite rightly brought to the Saturday with both teams having an empty weekend, we now travel this Saturday to Concert for with Nick in the car with us. So it'll be great to have Nick with us this time. Gareth is just checking the forecast for Saturday.
It's dry.
I thought he was putting his hot dog order in.
It's too late for that now.
Yeah, we should have got that in a week ago. But I won't be participating
I thought you were going to set a fixture then for a
in
minute.
the dry hot dogs this
I'm
particular
doing
weekend.
media again. From the other accounts.
But no, we'll talk about the game in particular. Obviously, the last time we were a goal down and the game was...
It can't go as bad as last time.
But
Off the pitch. I didn't think on the pitch were particularly
you'd
bad.
argue that at that point in time we hadn't really had a settled side. We were still finding our feet as a new group. We weren't great on the evening, but arguably should have been level for a goal that was a goal.
Yeah, there's no...
A goal that none of the opposition team were complaining about.
Yeah.
There's no wrong with turns, Ed, are there? That's 1-1. When nobody appeals from it from home
We
team.
kind of just got into the game a bit. We were putting more could have ended up winning the game, we could have lost it. But if you look at Concert's form, if that game had got to 90 minutes and they finished 1-0, I think they'd be in the top 3.
Well, they pumped Eben, didn't they, a couple of weeks ago on a Friday night?
Last Friday night, who were obviously right up there. So they're a side that are obviously a pretty strong side. So again, it's going to be a tough game after 2 games. If you look at our last 3 games, we're playing Stockton, who are back-to-back playoff final losers. And Belper, who got relegated and are at the top of the league. We're now playing Concert, who are in the top 5, top 6, I think 3rd or 4th. It's a particular run of games that, on the face of it, if we can pick up another win, it's a set of results that you can say we're heading in the right direction, firmly in the playoffs at this point. Whilst you get no prizes at this stage of the season, it's certainly the right place to be.
See, I always think it's tough going up there, especially Consey. It's going to be freezing cold.
Even though it's forecast at 18 degrees.
Yeah, 13.
Oh,
it's going to be freezing cold. It's another day when you're on one of them lousy 4G pitches. You're going to have a referee who's 15 miles away from Concert where he'll be based. They'll be talking to every one of their player by the first names. Well, you think it will, because you won't be able to understand it. You won't be able to understand it, and they will give us nothing. So you know that's always the same when you go up there. You never get a thing. So it's a tough place to go, is that?
I think it proved that when we went there last year as well. We struggled at their place. Heaven lost there last week by 3 goals.
When we went there last
year,
not only was it absolutely freezing cold, you keep mentioning, but that wind was unbelievable. When Jack Greenough goes to throw the ball down the line,
and it always comes back to
it bounced back behind him. He threw it forwards and it bounced back behind him.
And it cost me a new earbud because Lennon lost his earbud in your car. It was an awful day.
It was quite a memorable day for all the wrong reasons.
I didn't even know that they did dry hot dogs on that day either.
But
it would have been dry that day.
It was a difficult fixture. It's a difficult place to go. So,
Obviously, the last time we did some predictions, we'll jump onto those particular predictions. Lennon, what are you going for this particular weekend? When are you looking at?
Don't go for a defeat or else is going to kill you.
I think it'll be 1-1.
1-1. Nicholas?
Yeah, I wouldn't say that.
You're allowed to say the same.
No, I'll go for 2-2.
Desmond? Gareth?
3-1 Ponty.
I'm gonna join you, Gareth. I'm a man that is often positive about Ponty. I'm gonna be slightly less positive than you. I'm gonna go for 2-1. I think.
I would have said 2-0 Concert.
I think with the way that we've kind of set ourselves up in the last run of games, compared to how they kind of set up and the team that they have, I thought they were there to get at when we played them. We started slowly, and obviously the wind, it was pretty strong wind still. The weather wasn't great. The pitch, with the particular weather we'd had, wasn't great for playing good football. I think obviously the way that we've played in the last few weeks, I think we can cause them some trouble.
And was Burnsy banned for that? I think he might have been. Was he? No,
I think Burnsy.
Because wasn't he banned at start and then got sent off and got banned again? And
he played that game because he'd got the red. I'm not sure.
I think it's before he got.
So he was in place, I think, at the time.
Yeah, but wasn't he banned when he signed at the beginning of the season?
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Because
he certainly played.
So not from the heaven.
He certainly played that game. I remember Burnsy playing in that particular game, and there were a couple of times where he's had to make some last-ditch tackles as they broke through. But it's going to be a tough game. It's one that I'm particularly looking forward to.
Right, so I'd just like to confirm that Dan Burns didn't play in that game. Because I've got the team he didn't play.
Look at Charlie's face. You can't say. You listen.
Oh no, he did. Sorry, I misread numbers.
Explains Charlie's face.
And just to confirm, that's Gareth admitting that he was wrong and that I was right.
Yes, you are right. I bow down to
very
you.
rarely wrong. As Jazz is not so much in agreement for. But yes, I am very rarely wrong. We now, I believe, have a particular question from a guest.
We do. We have a question that I got sent privately on Facebook. This is from Jonathan of Pontefract.
Just before you get into the question, obviously for guests that may be listening, if you do have any particular questions you want to pose to us, feel free to comment them under any post that we're putting out. Send us them via direct message, or even as Jonathan has done, message directly.
Yep, certainly. So this is Jonathan's question, and to be honest, it's going to be aimed at you, Charlie, as a former referee. So his question is, if a referee, how can a referee lose a game as quickly as what they do? And if as a referee you've realised you're losing control, how would you have gone about regaining it?
Well, it's a very good question. Bearing in mind that my experience as a referee was Wakey Saturday League at its highest.
You were rubbish as well.
Very nice to say this. I'll be honest, I'm always right. My particular experience
Leggings in
dealing
September.
with some angry Saturday football folk in Normanton Park. I had a particular experience where I may have sent someone off for throwing an elbow, and he may have wanted to come and get me, shall we say. I waited in the car park afterwards. As a referee, I think all you can do is try and keep your mindset on the game, as if nothing's happened in particular for you to lose control of the game. If you see something that's deemed to be a yellow card, it's a yellow card.
So just taking Jonathan's question a bit further, if you, for example, you've given a penalty,
Yeah.
and you know it were wrong,
Yeah.
you look back and think, "God, I shouldn't have done that."
Not much you can do about
Would you just think, just how it is, I've made a mistake, we'll just have to get on with it? Or would you try and, the phrase, even up the score?
As I've said previously, I'm very rarely wrong, so I would be of the mindset that
So you wouldn't be giving the penalty incorrectly.
No.
But if I have given it, in my mind, I'm thinking I've given the right decision. So I'm just going about the game as the game would be. I'm not thinking of evening up the scores. Because at that level, it's different to what it is now. You've got no linesman helping you. You've got a man with a can in his hand and a flag waving about, and he's stood 20 yards back saying, "It's offside!" But yeah, it's a bit different. But from my experience, it's you just got to keep doing what you're doing.
Right, thank you for that, Charlie, and thank you to Jonathan for the question.
Indeed. We've come to the end of this particular episode. Any closing thoughts? Anything that you guys want to add? Anything that I've missed?
I'd like to ask a question.
Ooh.
When's my shirt going to arrive, Jeff?
Have you not got that yet?
I ordered it months ago.
3rd of July, wasn't it?
No, it weren't quite 3rd of July.
Well,
That might have been the day that he ordered.
So
when did money leave you?
I ordered it, and what did it say on the order form?
You're never getting this fucker.
Was it a pre-order?
Was, yes.
There we go. So you've pre-ordered
Okay.
in a batch order. Now,
Okay, so some of our listeners may have ordered shirts also. So
Indeed.
Jonathan from Pontefract, for one.
to which we'll receive updates, I'm sure, as and when the garment is in stock and available to collect.
So when will I receive my shirt then back to the original?
Once you've received your email to confirm it is ready.
So when's that likely to be?
You're asking a man in a podcast that does not have the answer right now. I'm gonna.
He's going to cut us off. We're going to be covers our podcast.
So we're gonna move on. We've come to the end of episode 2 of this second season.
There were a little bit on my media as well that we missed off, about how tragic my media appointment was. You know, the Chris Kamara, there's been a sending off, but who to? Let's go to Chris Kamara to find out. Well, Belper had a man sent off, and I didn't realise until we were in the car on the way home, and it flashed up on my watch.
So you really watched it thoroughly then?
But I genuinely...
Because it were a couple of minutes before full time.
I think,
Yeah, it was.
was it that near that? There's no point in asking you because you're on your
I
jollies.
do know, actually. I watched the game.
Was it the incident near the
Yeah, And he took his shirt
Yeah,
off.
we thought he'd been subbed.
He'd been sent off.
Yeah.
We thought he'd been subbed, but
Exactly.
did you do sub?
Because he went nuts as well. He was not very happy.
Exactly the same thing though as the Jeff. I thought he'd just been substituted. So yeah, it was a very tragic media appointment. So yeah, I think you might have to find someone else in future. Charles.
He's tried that. It's not worked, has it?
And again, before thanks for everyone that's listened. Obviously, as we mentioned, any feedback, any comments, any questions, obviously feel free to fire them over to us. We'll look towards the third episode, probably in a couple of weeks, 3 weeks' time again. And hopefully we're on the back of another set of results that have gone our way, and there might even have been a correct prediction along the way.
Fantastic.
But thanks for everyone that hopefully has listened. And we'll see you at concert.
Bye.
So, yeah.